"You're the one who tore this, aren't you?" My daughter-in-law turned her head away. And a long silence hung in the air instead of an answer. In my hands was a notebook my granddaughter had left behind. The cover was peeling at the corner. And the first page was half torn. It was the very page where she had scrawled, "Grandma," in her wobbly handwriting before starting elementary school.
Mother, why would I ever?
Just answer what I'm asking. My daughter-in-law's fingers clutched at her apron. The afternoon light streaming through the window fell across the torn paper, and as I watched that light, I found myself remembering my granddaughter's laughter from so long ago. Without a word, I set the notebook down on the dining table, and the edge of the paper fluttered to the floor with a soft sound. My daughter-in-law never once looked at me. I'm 72 years old this year. I've always told myself I lived a diligent life. I would wake at dawn to sweep the yard and prepare my son's meals. And on my husband's Memorial Day, I would perform the rites alone. I thought that was simply how life was meant to be lived. Park Young-hee. That's my name. I was born in a small village in Gyeongsang Province. Married at 23, and after losing my husband past 50. I've been living in a small room at my son's place. My room consists of one wardrobe, one bedding cabinet, and a few belongings my granddaughter left behind. That's all there is. Wishing you health and happiness today. Before you hear this story, your free subscription, likes, and notifications mean so much to us. If you leave a warm comment, I sincerely wish good fortune upon you. I suppose I need to tell you about my granddaughter. She disappeared 7 years ago. Disappeared is the right word for it. One day she went to school and never came home. The police came, reporters came, and the neighbors whispered among themselves. Every night, my son would stand by the front door, staring outside, while my daughter-in-law shut herself in her room and wouldn't come out. 3 months passed. A year passed. Gradually, people forgot about her. But I couldn't forget. Her notebook, her pencils, the drawing she made for my birthday. I kept them all hidden deep in my wardrobe, without my son or daughter-in-law knowing. But this morning, when I opened the wardrobe, the notebook wasn't where I'd left it. I was certain I had stood it upright in the left corner, but it was lying flat. And when I took it out, the first page was torn. Only 2 people in this house could enter my room. My son leaves for work and doesn't return until late at night. During the day, the only people home are me and my daughter-in-law. Just the 2 of us. Mother, I think there's been a misunderstanding. My daughter-in-law spoke up. Her voice was calm, but her eyes still avoided mine. What misunderstanding? I've never touched that notebook. I've never even been in your room. She was lying. This morning, I saw it clearly. My daughter-in-law stopping in the hallway outside my room, her hand reaching for the doorknob, then pulling back when she heard me coming from the kitchen. Fine. I'm sure you're right. I didn't press any further. Her shoulders dropped slightly, as if in relief. I took the notebook and returned to my room, closing the door behind me. I sat by the window and stared at the torn page for a long time. Grandma. The wobbly letters had a diagonal tear running through them, as if someone had yanked at it in a hurry. Why this page, of all pages? Why the one page with the only words my granddaughter ever wrote for me? Outside the window, the sun was setting. My son would be home soon, and I'd need to prepare dinner. Just like always, But today, before setting the table, I made a decision. I would find out for myself what was happening in this house. You might dismiss it as the paranoia of a 72-year-old woman. But after a lifetime of living, I've learned something. A person's eyes can lie, but their hands cannot. And today, my daughter-in-law's hands were trembling. 5 in the morning. I always wake at this hour. It's been that way since my husband was alive, getting up before dawn, turning on the kitchen light, cooking rice, making soup. That's how my day begins. Even after my husband passed, even after I came to live at my son's place, that habit never changed. When I stepped into the kitchen, cold air rose from the floor. I turned on the faucet, and icy water ran over the back of my hand. As I washed the rice, the sky outside gradually began to lighten. It's been 3 years since I moved into this house. When I fell ill before my husband's memorial service, my son told me I shouldn't live alone anymore, that I should come live with them. I declined. I didn't want to leave the house I'd lived in my whole life. And I didn't want to be a burden on my daughter-in-law. But my son wouldn't take no for an answer. What if you collapse when you're alone, Mom? Please, come live with us. Those words made me pack my bags. It wasn't so much gratitude for his filial devotion, it was the anxiety in his voice that worried me. After losing his daughter, my son seemed to have developed a deep fear of losing anyone else. I closed the rice cooker lid and turned on the stove. I made SeniorAudiobook dried radish leaf soup, my son's favorite since he was a boy. I dissolved the soybean paste, added the radish leaves, and minced the garlic. The motions were so familiar I could do them with my eyes closed. 6:30. My son came out of his room, tying his necktie as he walked to the table. Mom, you're up this early again. Yes. Eat. He took a spoonful of the soup, paused for a moment, then nodded. It's delicious. Those simple words made the early morning worth it. I sat across from him and drank only water. I've reached an age where mornings don't agree with eating. How's work these days? Busy. Year-end, you know. Don't push yourself too hard. I won't. And that was the end of our conversation. It wasn't always like this. When my granddaughter was here, breakfast was noisy. She would chatter away, my son would laugh, and my daughter-in-law would serve side dishes. Just watching that scene was enough to fill me up. Now, this table holds only silence. 7 o'clock. My daughter-in-law emerged from her room. Her hair pulled back tight, her face bare of makeup. Good morning, Mother. Morning. She didn't sit at the table. She just took a glass of milk from the fridge and drank it. My son glanced at her. Eat something. I'm not hungry. Go ahead. My son set down his spoon. He seemed about to say something, but stopped himself, grabbed his bag, and headed for the door. I'm off, Mom. Be careful. The door closed, and only my daughter-in-law and I remained. She set her glass in the sink and went to the living room. Sitting on the sofa and staring at her phone, I cleared the table, my eyes catching my son's half-finished soup bowl and my daughter-in-law's untouched utensils. After my granddaughter disappeared, my daughter-in-law changed. The first year, all she did was cry. She wouldn't leave her room. Wouldn't eat, would just stare at photos of my granddaughter all day. I felt sorry for her then. She was crumbling as much as I was grieving, perhaps even more. But about 2 years in, she stopped crying. And she stopped smiling too. Her expressions just vanished. Whether she was talking to my son or running into me, nothing ever showed on her face. It was as if everything inside her had drained away. Sometimes, my daughter-in-law frightens me. After finishing the dishes, I went back to my room and stood before the wardrobe, the one that held my granddaughter's belongings. I needed to check again, to make sure I hadn't imagined the torn notebook from yesterday. I opened the wardrobe door. The notebook was still there. Still torn. I hadn't imagined it. Beside the notebook was a photo of my granddaughter, taken on her kindergarten graduation day. She was beaming brightly, one front tooth missing, the gap dark in her smile. I thought it was so adorable that I'd had the photo printed right away, and kept it with me ever since. I picked up the photo and gazed at it for a long while. Then, almost without thinking, I flipped it over. There was writing on the back. It wasn't my handwriting. My heart seemed to stop. On the back of the photo, someone had written a phone number in ballpoint pen, 031XXXXXXX. Below it, in small letters, was the word, confirm. This handwriting belonged to my daughter-in-law. I know her handwriting. The way she wrote on the wedding invitation when she married my son. The way she signed the guest book at my granddaughter's first birthday party, the rounded way she drew certain letters, the sharp upward strokes of others. This was unmistakably her handwriting. But why would my daughter-in-law write a phone number on the back of my granddaughter's photo? I stood there holding the photo, my fingertips trembling slightly. Morning sunlight streamed through the window and fell across the photo, and I found myself looking back and forth between my granddaughter's smiling face and the unfamiliar numbers on the other side. Whose number is this? And what does confirm mean? Suddenly, I sensed someone behind me and turned around. My daughter-in-law was standing at the end of the hallway. I had no idea how long she'd been there. She was watching me in silence, or rather, she was watching the photo in my hands. "What are you doing, Mother?" "Just organizing some things." "Oh, okay." She nodded and turned away. Her footsteps receded toward the living room. I quickly slipped the photo back into the wardrobe and closed the door. My palms were damp with sweat. Did she see? Did she see me checking the back of the photo? Lunchtime came. I made myself some instant noodles in the kitchen just for myself. My daughter-in-law never eats lunch with me. She either stays in her room doing something or goes out. Today seemed like one of her going out days. She was putting on her shoes at the front door. "I'm heading out, Mother." "All right, where to?" "Just some errands." She left without explaining what those errands were. I didn't ask. I'd asked once or twice before and received only a cold stare in return. The door closed, and I ate my noodles. The broth was too salty. I had no appetite. While my daughter-in-law was out, I went back to my room. I opened the wardrobe and took out my granddaughter's things one by one. The notebook, the photo, the pencils, a small stuffed toy, everything she'd left behind. I opened the notebook. Past the torn first page, I found the drawings she had made. A house, a tree, the sun, and 4 people: Grandma, Mom, Dad, and herself. I traced the grandma in the drawing with my finger. The hair was colored white. That's how she saw me. I turned the page. Something was wrong. A page was missing from the middle. I remembered clearly this notebook had 40 pages. She had used 15 of them, and the rest were blank. But counting now, there were only 14. One page was gone. Not just the torn first page, another one. I examined the notebook closely and found evidence near the middle. Someone had neatly sliced out a page with a knife or scissors. Who? And why? I set the notebook down. Someone had been tampering with my granddaughter's belongings. And not just once, multiple times. My daughter-in-law. Her name surfaced in my mind. Evening came. My son came home from work later than usual, at 9 o'clock. "Mom, did you eat dinner?" "Yes. Yours is warming on the stove." "Thank you." He sat at the table and ate while I sat across from him. My daughter-in-law had gone to her room and didn't come out. "Son." "Yes? Have you ever seen her things?" His spoon stopped mid-air. "What things?" "Your daughter's. The things I keep in my wardrobe." He didn't answer for a long moment. He took a sip of soup and spoke slowly. "Mom, can we please stop talking about that? It's hard for me too. Every time it comes up." His voice sank low. I couldn't say anything more. He finished eating and stood up. "I'm going to bed. I have to leave early tomorrow." "All right, get some rest." He went to his room, and the door clicked shut. I sat alone at the table. My son doesn't want to know. About his daughter, about the day she disappeared, about any of it. But I need to know. Why the notebook was torn. Why a page is missing. Why there's a phone number on the back of the photo. And why my daughter-in-law tried to enter my room. Night deepened. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, unable to sleep. Footsteps echoed in the hallway, slow, careful footsteps. I held my breath. The footsteps stopped right outside my door. I held my breath. In the darkness, a faint light seeped through the gap beneath my door. Someone was standing in the hallway. The footsteps had stopped completely. How long did I wait? A minute, maybe 2, before the footsteps started again, moving away. Then the quiet sound of a door closing. It was my daughter-in-law. What was she trying to do outside my room at 2 in the morning? I couldn't fall asleep. The next morning, after my son left for work, my daughter-in-law was sitting on the living room sofa watching television. I washed the dishes in the kitchen while watching her from behind. She looked perfectly ordinary, so ordinary that I began to doubt whether she was really the same person who had stood outside my room last night. As I finished the dishes and was about to return to my room, my daughter-in-law spoke. "Mother." "Yes. Are you going out today?" It was the first time she'd ever asked me such a question. In 3 years, she had never once asked about my plans. "No." "Why?" "Just wondering." She turned back to the television, and I went to my room. Why did she ask? Why did she want to know if I'd be home or not? I didn't open my wardrobe. Instead, I stood by my door, listening. I could hear the television from the living room. My daughter-in-law didn't seem to be moving. About an hour passed. I heard the front door, my daughter-in-law leaving. "I'm heading out." Her voice carried to me, and I replied, "All right." The door closed. I waited 5 minutes, just in case she came back. She didn't. I stepped out of my room and stood in front of her door. It was closed. Usually, she left it open sometimes, but today it was shut. I gripped the handle, the cold metal pressing against my palm. I opened the door. The room was tidy. Bed, vanity, closet, nothing seemed out of the ordinary. What am I looking for? I asked myself. Was it right to be searching through my daughter-in-law's room? But my feet wouldn't stop. I opened the vanity drawer. Makeup, a mirror, a small pouch, all ordinary things. I opened the closet, clothes hung neatly in a row. I looked under the bed, only dust. Nothing. Then something on the vanity caught my eye. A small dresser with 3 drawers, attached to the side of the vanity. The bottom drawer had a lock on it. This was the only locked drawer in the entire house. I crouched in front of it. It was a small lock, not a combination lock, but one that needed a key. Where would the key be? I scanned the room. The top of the vanity, the nightstand, inside the closet. I found it. Taped to the back of the vanity mirror was a small key. I peeled off the key and inserted it into the lock. My hands were shaking. Click. The lock opened. I pulled the drawer open. Inside was a single document envelope. I picked it up. It was heavy. Something thick was inside. I opened it, and papers slid out. 5 or 6 sheets of A4 paper. I looked at the first page. Real estate title transfer agreement. I read the words, one by one. The contract listed an address in Gyeonggi Province, the house where I had lived my entire life. The house my husband left to my son when he died. My name was written there. Transferer Park Young-hee. Below it was a stamp. Not my stamp. Someone had forged documents in my name. My hands shook. I turned to the next page. Power of attorney. It stated that I was delegating the management of my assets to my son. Again, no signature from me, just clumsy handwriting that someone had clearly copied. The next page was a bank document. Mortgage loan application. Loan amount 200 million won. Collateral, the house in Gyeonggi Province. Applicant Park Young-hee. I have never applied for a loan. My hands trembled violently as I held the papers. I reached into the envelope for whatever remained. It was the page that had been cut from my granddaughter's notebook. A drawing she had made of a house. The house where our family used to live. Written across the drawing in ballpoint pen. Market value confirmed. 350 million won. It was my daughter-in-law's handwriting. The front door opened. I shoved the papers back into the envelope, closed the drawer, and locked it. I taped the key behind the mirror and hurried out of the room. In the hallway, I came face to face with my daughter-in-law. She looked at me. I looked at her. What are you doing, mother? On my way to the bathroom. Her eyes narrowed as she looked me over. I kept my expression neutral. Oh, okay. She walked past me, and I heard her footsteps entering her room. I went into the bathroom and closed the door. In the mirror, my face looked pale. My daughter-in-law was after my assets. And she was using my granddaughter's belongings as part of her scheme. I gripped the edge of the sink. My knees gave way beneath me. That night, I waited for my son. Past 10 o'clock, the front door finally opened. He came in with his tie loosened, exhaustion written across his face. Mom, you're still up? We need to talk. His expression hardened. He seemed to know what was coming. Can it wait until tomorrow? I'm exhausted. No, it has to be now. I pulled out a chair and sat at the table. Reluctantly, he sat across from me. About the house. The one in Gyeonggi. Yes. What's happened to it? He didn't answer. He just stared at the table, head bowed. That's the house I gave you. The house your father worked his whole life to buy. I know. Did you take out a loan against it? His shoulders flinched. Just for an instant, but I saw it. What do you mean? Answer me. He slowly raised his head. His eyes were bloodshot. Mom, why are you suddenly asking about this? Just answer. The silence stretched on. The only sound was the ticking of the clock. I did take out a loan. His voice was low when he finally spoke. How much? 200 million. My heart sank. The exact amount written in those documents. Why? I needed capital for business. The company's not doing well. I didn't want you to worry. There are documents with my name on them. My son's face went white. That wasn't me. I didn't do that. Then who did? My son didn't answer. But I already knew. And so did he. It was your wife. Mother. She did it, didn't she? My son stood up from his chair, pushing it back with a scraping sound. Mother, please. Don't blame her. I'm not blaming anyone. I'm stating facts. Facts? His voice rose. It was the first time my son had ever raised his voice at me. She's struggling too. You don't understand. You don't know how much she. What don't I understand? After losing our daughter, you have no idea how completely she fell apart. Every night, nightmares. Crying herself to sleep. She's only just now starting to be okay. So that makes it acceptable to steal from me? Steal from you? My son laughed a bitter, hollow laugh. That house is in my name now, Mother. You transferred it to me. What's wrong with me taking out a loan against my own property? My chest tightened. Is that really how you see it? It's the truth. Without looking at me again, he walked toward the front door. Where are you going? I need some air. At this hour? The door closed without an answer. I sat alone at the table. He was right. I had transferred the title 3 years ago. When I fell ill, my son said. He was worried that we should get things in order early. I believed him. But what about the power of attorney with my name on it? What about the loan documents I never signed? My son knows the truth. He's just pretending he doesn't. Or perhaps he's being deceived by his wife. Footsteps echoed from the hallway. It was my daughter-in-law. Emerging from her room and heading toward the kitchen. Our eyes met. Mother, aren't you going to sleep? Not yet. Is something wrong? I heard raised voices earlier. Her eyes studied me carefully, searching to know what we had talked about. Nothing's wrong. Oh, okay. Good night then. She poured herself a glass of water, drank it, and went back to her room. I rose from my chair on trembling legs. Back in my room, I closed the door, turned off the light, and lay beneath my blanket. I couldn't see the ceiling, only darkness. My son wasn't on my side. I was alone in this house. Tears fell. Silent tears. In 72 years of living, I had never felt such a lonely night. Days passed. My son wouldn't look me in the eye. In the morning, a single, I'm off. In the evening, a single, I'm back. That was all. My daughter-in-law, on the other hand, seemed normal, or rather, even friendlier than before. Mother, shall I peel some fruit for you? Mother, it's so nice out today. Why don't you take a walk? Her kindness made me uncomfortable. It felt like she was trying to hide something. I made a decision. I needed evidence. The kind of undeniable proof that could convince my son. This apartment has CCTV cameras in every hallway, every elevator, every parking level. I knew the footage was kept in the management office. 10 in the morning. After confirming my daughter-in-law had gone out, I left the apartment. I took the elevator down to the first floor. The management office was right next to the lobby. Through the glass door, I could see the building manager inside. I opened the door and stepped in. "Ma'am, can I help you?" The manager stood up, a kind-looking man in his 50s. "I have a favor to ask." "Of course. What is it? Could I look at the CCTV footage?" His expression became cautious. "The CCTV? That usually requires police involvement or resident consent. I am a resident. Unit 1203. Ah, yes, I know. But, may I ask what this is about?" I hesitated, unsure what to say. "Something went missing from my room a few days ago. I just want to check if anyone came in." It was a lie, but not entirely untrue. The manager nodded. "If that's the situation. Just a moment." He sat at the computer and turned the monitor toward me. "You said a few days ago? What date exactly?" I gave him the date, the day before I discovered the notebook had been torn. He pulled up the footage. "This is the 12th floor hallway. If you look here." The screen showed the corridor. Our front door was visible. The footage played on fast forward. At 10 o'clock, I saw myself leaving to go shopping. At 10:15, the hallway was empty. 10:30, my daughter-in-law opened the front door and stepped out. Then she walked toward my room. I stopped breathing. On the screen, she opened my door and went inside. 3 minutes later, she came out holding something in her hand. "Wait, stop there." The manager paused the video. I looked closely at the screen. In her hand was a notebook. My granddaughter's notebook. "Can you save this? Copy the footage? That requires a formal process. Even just a photo. Just this frame." The manager looked conflicted, but when he saw my face, he nodded. "Do you have your phone with you?" I took out my phone. He brought the image back up on the screen, and I took a picture. "Thank you. Of course. I hope this helps." I left the management office. The phone in my hand felt heavy. I had found proof. My daughter-in-law had definitely entered my room, taken the notebook, and lied about it. Why would I ever? Her voice from that day echoed in my mind. A lie. All of it was lies. I returned home. When I opened the front door, my daughter-in-law was standing in the living room, watching me. "Mother, where have you been?" "Just a walk." "Oh, of course. It's such nice weather." She smiled, and I looked her straight in the eye. "Daughter-in-law, yes? You're the one who tore it, aren't you?" "The notebook." Her smile vanished. What do you mean?" "I saw the CCTV." Silence fell between us. Her eyes wavered, an expression I'd never seen before. "Mother, that's... You don't need to make excuses. I know everything." I walked past her, went to my room, and closed the door. My heart was racing. This was only the beginning. Evening came. My son came home from work at his usual time. I had prepared dinner: saragi guk, rolled omelette, kimchi. He sat at the table, and my daughter-in-law came out too. It had been a long time since the three of us ate dinner together. "Thank you for the meal." My son picked up his spoon. My daughter-in-law scooped a bite of rice, then set it down. "Honey." "Yes? I need to tell you something." My son looked at her. So did I. Her eyes were red, she'd been crying. "Today, Mother said something to me." "What did she say?" "That I snuck into her room. That she saw it on the CCTV. My son's gaze shifted to me, his expression bewildered. "Mother, what is she?" "It's true." I spoke calmly. "I went to the management office and watched the footage. Your wife went into my room and took my granddaughter's notebook. My daughter-in-law shook her head. Mother, you've misunderstood. How have I misunderstood? I went in to clean. Your room gets dusty, and I clean it sometimes, you know that. And you needed to take the notebook to clean? The notebook? I didn't take any notebook. Her eyes went wide, her face showing genuine confusion. But I had seen it. On the CCTV. Don't lie to me. I'm not lying, Mother. Her voice rose, and tears welled in her eyes. For 3 years, I've looked after you. I've never once complained. When you get up at dawn and make noise in the kitchen when I lose sleep. Because you're going to the bathroom at night, I've never said a word. So why? Why do you only suspect me? What have I done that's so terrible? My son wrapped his arm around her shoulders and looked at me. His eyes held disappointment. Mother, please go to your room for now. We'll talk later. I rose from my seat. The food sat untouched. I hadn't taken a single bite. Back in my room, I closed the door. Through the walls, I could hear my daughter-in-law crying in the living room. And my son's voice trying to comfort her. Was I wrong? No, I saw it with my own eyes. But my son didn't believe me. Against his wife's tears, my words had lost all power. Night deepened. I lay in bed, unable to sleep. Around 1 in the morning, I heard sounds from the hallway, not footsteps. The sound of something being moved, drawers opening and closing. I quietly got up and peeked through the crack in my door. My daughter-in-law was in the living room, going through a cabinet. She was holding a plastic bag. She put something inside the bag and headed for the front door. She put on her shoes, opened the door, and left. At 1 in the morning, I went to the window and peered through the gap in the curtains. I could see her in front of the apartment building, walking toward the garbage area. She threw away the bag. Then she came back inside. I closed the curtains. She was getting rid of something. Evidence. Come morning, I would need to go to that garbage area. 5 in the morning. I opened my eyes. I looked out the window to make sure last night wasn't a dream. It was still dark. Quietly, I opened my door. The hallway was silent. My son and daughter-in-law would still be asleep. I walked to the front door, put on my shoes, and opened it as quietly as I could. Instead of taking the elevator, I took the stairs. My legs ached by the time I reached the first floor, but I didn't stop. The garbage area was behind the building. Recycling bins and general waste containers lined up in a row. I stood in front of the general waste bin. The smell hit me: rotting food, burning plastic. I held my breath and lifted the lid. There were several bags inside: black, white, blue. The one my daughter-in-law had been carrying was white. I searched through the bags one by one. My hands got dirty, but I didn't care. I stopped at the third bag. Inside were crumpled documents. I pulled them out. Loan papers. The same format as the ones I'd seen in my daughter-in-law's room. But this one was different. Loan application denied. The date was 1 week ago. Her plan had failed. The bank had rejected her application. There was something else in the bag. A small note. Mom, it didn't work out again. I'll look for another way. My daughter-in-law's handwriting. And, Mom, meant this was a note intended for her own mother. I put the documents and the note in my pocket, dusted off my hands, and went back home. Morning. After my son left for work, only my daughter-in-law and I remained. I did the dishes in the kitchen while she watched television in the living room. Neither of us spoke, but the air felt different, like a string pulled taut. "Mother," she spoke first. "Yes. About yesterday. I'm sorry. I didn't answer and kept washing the dishes. I was too sensitive. I didn't consider your feelings. It won't happen again." I turned off the faucet and dried my hands with a towel. Then I looked at her. "Fine." That was all I said before going to my room. I could feel her eyes on my back. I closed the door and took the documents and note from my pocket. The loan had been denied. And she was looking for another way. What other way? I sat by the window and thought. More days passed. My daughter-in-law was kind. She peeled fruit for me, folded laundry, prepared side dishes for dinner. I pretended to accept her kindness. Said thank you. Said it was delicious. But every night, I woke up. I heard her footsteps. In the early morning hours, she would get up and go to the living room. The sound of her handling her phone, speaking to someone in hushed tones. I watched through the crack in my door. She always woke around 2 in the morning, and stood by the living room window to make her calls. Her voice was too quiet to make out the words. When the calls ended, she would sigh long, deep sighs. Then she would return to her room. Who was she talking to? About what? I needed to find out. A week later, my daughter-in-law went out. At 10 in the morning, she said, "I have some business at the bank," and left. I waited 30 minutes, then went to her room. The locked drawer was still there. The key was still behind the mirror. I opened the drawer. The document envelope was gone. She must have removed it. But there was something else. A small notebook. I took it out and opened it. Numbers filled every page, dates and amounts. 315 to 5,000,001. 422 to 3,000,001. 610 to 7,000,001. The amounts grew larger as I read down the page. 95 to 20,000,001. 1018 to 30,000,001. On the last page, a total was written. Total 120,000,000 won. What was this money for? Was it borrowed? Spent? I looked through the notebook further. On the inside of the back cover was a memo. Mother's account, NH Bank XXX4X4X. It was my account number. My heart seemed to stop. She knew my account number. How? I took several photos of the notebook. Then I put it back in place, closed the drawer, and left the room. I heard the front door in the hallway. She was back. I ducked into the bathroom, closed the door, and turned on the water. My heart pounded. 120,000,000 won. Where had she spent all that money? And why had she written down my account number? That night, I didn't sleep. I waited for her to wake up in the early morning hours. 2 o'clock. As expected, I heard footsteps. She came out of her room and went to the living room. I cracked my door open and watched. She picked up her phone and made a call. This time, I could hear fragments of her voice. Not yet. Please just wait a little longer. Yes, I know. The interest is adding up. By next month, I promise. Interest. It was borrowed money. She had borrowed money from someone. And she couldn't pay it back. The call ended, and she sank onto the sofa with a sigh. In the darkness, her shoulders trembled. She seemed to be crying. I closed my door. The next day, I went to the bank to check my account. I took a number and waited. When my turn came, I sat at the counter. I'd like to check my balance and transaction history. The teller took my bank book and looked at the computer. Ma'am, your balance is 320,000 won. What? I couldn't believe my ears. 320,000 won? Yes. That can't be right. I had 20 million won in this account. The teller printed out my transaction history and handed it to me. Withdrawal records. 315 to 5 million won withdrawn. 422 to 3 million won withdrawn. 610 to 7 million won withdrawn. The dates and amounts matched exactly what was written in that notebook. I didn't make these withdrawals. Ma'am, according to this, the transfers were made through internet banking. Using a digital certificate. Internet banking? I don't use that. The teller's expression grew serious. In that case, you may need to file a report. I left the bank holding the transaction records. My legs gave out, and I sat on a nearby bench. It was her. My daughter-in-law had been taking money from my account. She must have secretly obtained my digital certificate. 20 million won. Half of everything I'd saved in my lifetime. The world seemed to spin. On the way home, I thought. She needed money. Over 100 million won. What could she possibly need it for? My granddaughter came to mind. After my granddaughter disappeared, my daughter-in-law changed. She cried for a while, then one day, she stopped crying. And then she needed money. Could it be? Could this be connected to my granddaughter? It was an absurd thought. But I couldn't shake it from my mind. The phone number on the back of my granddaughter's photo. 031XXXXXXX. I stopped walking. I needed to find out who that number belonged to. When I got home, I went to my room. I opened the wardrobe, took out my granddaughter's photo, and looked at the number on the back. I took out my phone and dialed. It rang. Once, twice, 3 times. On the 4th ring, someone answered. Hello? A woman's voice. Unfamiliar. Excuse me. Who is this? Me? My name is Park M.I. Young. Who's calling? Park M.I. Young. I didn't know the name. Oh, I must have dialed the wrong number. I'm sorry. I hung up the phone. Park M.I. Young. I had heard that name somewhere before. What was my daughter-in-law's mother's name again? I searched my memory. On the wedding day, the officiant had read aloud the names of both sets of parents. Mother of the bride, Mrs. Park M.I. Young. My heart began to race. My daughter-in-law's mother. Why would my daughter-in-law write her own mother's phone number on the back of my granddaughter's photo? And what did confirm mean? I looked down at the photo. My granddaughter's smiling face. The puzzle pieces were coming together, one by one. My daughter-in-law's debt, the money taken from my account, the loan attempts. My granddaughter's photo, her mother's phone number. But the picture wasn't complete yet. I needed one final piece. That evening, my son came home from work, and I spoke to him. Let's go to the management office together tomorrow. The management office? Why? We need to look at the CCTV again. His face hardened. Mother, not this again? This time it's different. Not my room, the entrance area. And I want to see all the footage. Come with me and see for yourself. Then you'll know whether I'm right or wrong. My son didn't answer for a long moment. Just then, my daughter-in-law came out of her room. She seemed to have heard our conversation. What are you talking about? Nothing. My son answered, but my daughter-in-law's eyes turned to me. Sharp eyes. I looked right back at her. Tomorrow. All three of us. The management office. Her face went pale. The next morning, 10 o'clock. The three of us stood in front of the management office. My daughter-in-law looked like she hadn't slept all night, dark circles under her eyes, lips dry and cracked. My son opened the door. "Hello. We're from Unit 1203. The building manager looked up. When he saw me, recognition crossed his face. "Ah, ma'am. You're back. This time I've brought my family. Could you show us more of the CCTV footage?" The manager glanced at my son and daughter-in-law. "If you're all family. Yes, that's fine." The three of us stood before the monitor as the manager pulled up the footage. "Which date?" I told him March 15th. The day money was first withdrawn from my account. The video began to play. The 12th floor hallway appeared, along with our front door. At 9 in the morning, my son was seen leaving for work. At 9:30, I opened the front door and left. It was a day I had a doctor's appointment. 10 o'clock. My daughter-in-law emerged from the apartment, holding a document envelope. She got on the elevator. "Can we see the elevator footage too?" The manager switched to a different feed. Inside the elevator, my daughter-in-law took something out of the envelope. A bank book. With a green cover. The same color as mine. My son's breathing grew heavy. "What is?" "Keep watching." The footage continued. She got off on the first floor, crossed the lobby, and went outside. "We don't have footage of her outside. Only the parking garage." "Show me the parking garage." The image changed. In the parking garage, my daughter-in-law got into a car, not my son's car. "A white sedan. That car isn't ours," my son muttered. In the video, she drove away somewhere and returned 2 hours later. The document envelope was no longer in her hands. Let's look at other dates. I checked the footage from April 22, June 10, and September 5 in sequence. The pattern was the same each time. While I was out, my daughter-in-law would leave with a document envelope, get into the white car, and return a couple of hours later. My son's face grew more rigid with each video. "We're not done yet." I turned to the manager. "Show me last week's footage as well." Between 1 and 2 in the morning. The image changed. 140 a.m. My daughter-in-law came out of the apartment carrying a white plastic bag. We watched her walk to the garbage area, throw away the bag, and return. My son looked at his wife. "What is this?" She didn't answer. She just stood there with her head bowed. "Answer me. Explain these videos." Walking out with mother's bankbook. Getting into a strange car. Throwing something away in the middle of the night. Explain all of it. Her shoulders trembled. I pulled a piece of paper from my pocket, the transaction records from the bank. "Look at this too." My son took the paper and read it. His face went white. 20 million won. From mother's account. Your wife took it. He looked at his wife. She still had her head down. Honey. Look at me. Slowly, she raised her head. Tears were streaming down her face. I'm sorry. Sorry for what? What have you done? I'm in debt. Debt? Over 100 million won. My son's eyes went wide. 100 million? What kind of debt is 100 million won? She opened her mouth, then closed it. Then opened it again. It's because of her. I stopped breathing. So did my son. The building manager sensed the atmosphere and quietly stepped away. Her? What are you talking about? Our daughter. I've been looking for her. What? For 7 years. I've been searching alone, hiring private investigators, buying information, going everywhere. It's cost over 100 million won. I couldn't believe my ears. You've been searching for my granddaughter? Yes. My daughter-in-law looked at me directly, for the first time. Mother, I never gave up. Not once. Then why? Why didn't you tell us? What difference would it have made? The police gave up. Everyone gave up. Her voice cracked. I was the only one. The only one who couldn't give up. She's my daughter. My son slid down against the wall, his legs giving out beneath him. I looked at my daughter-in-law. So, you stole my money. I'm sorry. Does being sorry make it okay? I know. I don't expect forgiveness. But I had no choice. Without money, I couldn't search for her. She dropped to her knees. Right there on the management office floor. Mother, please believe just one thing. I wasn't trying to hurt you. I just wanted to find her. That's all. I looked down at her. 7 years. For 7 years, this woman had been searching for my granddaughter alone. She hadn't stopped crying, she had simply traded her tears for running. Did you find her? What? Did you find my granddaughter? Her tears fell harder. Not yet. I haven't found her. I closed my eyes. We left the management office. The 3 of us rode the elevator in silence. No one spoke. The only sound was the elevator ascending. 12th floor. The doors opened. We walked down the hallway, unlocked the front door, and went inside. The 3 of us stood in the living room. My son sat down first, burying his face in his hands. My daughter-in-law stood with her head bowed. I stood as well. Sit down. At my words, she slowly lowered herself onto the edge of the sofa. I sat in the chair across from them. Tell me everything. From the beginning. She raised her head. Her eyes were swollen. Where should I start? The day she disappeared. She took a deep breath and let it out. That day. I should have picked her up from school. But I had work, so I told her to take the academy bus. She'd never ridden it alone before. It was her first time. Her voice trembled. They said the bus never came. So she walked. Toward home. She disappeared somewhere along the way. Not even on any CCTV. She just vanished. My son let out a groan through the hands covering his face. After that, I thought I was going insane. She continued. If only I had picked her up. If only I hadn't told her to take the bus. Every single day, those were the only thoughts in my head. So that's when you started searching. Yes. After the police gave up, I started. Alone. Yes. I looked at her. Why didn't you tell your husband? She glanced at my son, who still had his face covered. He was struggling too, even more than me. Every time our daughter came up, he would fall apart. That's why I couldn't tell him. And the money? At first, I emptied my savings. Then I canceled my insurance. But it still wasn't enough, so. You touched my account. Yes. She bowed her head. I'm sorry, Mother. I didn't respond. My son lowered his hands. His face was wet, he had been crying. Why didn't you tell me? His voice broke. I wanted to find her too. Every day. But I didn't know how. All that time, alone. For 7 years. He couldn't finish. He pounded his fist against his knee. What was I doing? For 7 years. What was I doing? My daughter-in-law took his hand. This isn't your fault. Yes, it is. I knew you were struggling and I pretended not to see. Because I didn't want to talk about it. I watched the two of them. So, they both looked at me. So where is my granddaughter? Have you found any leads? My daughter-in-law hesitated for a moment, then got up and went to the bedroom. She came back holding a thick document envelope. This is 7 years' worth of materials. She opened it, and photos, documents, and notes spilled out. Everything the investigators found, everywhere I went. Myself, I collected all of it. I picked up a photo. It was of some building. What's this? A tip from 2 years ago. Someone said they saw a child who looked like her at a facility in Gyeonggi Province. Did you check? I went. But it wasn't her. I picked up another photo, a blurry CCTV capture. And this? Last year, in Busan. A girl around the same age was caught on camera, but... Did you confirm it? I couldn't. This was the only footage. I looked through the documents one by one. 7 years of my daughter-in-law's collecting. Failed leads. Dead ends. And yet traces of never giving up. You did all this. Yourself? Yes. I set down the papers. My heart ached. I'm sorry. Her eyes went wide. What? I misjudged you. Mother. I thought you were a thief. A wicked woman after my money. I looked straight at her. But I was wrong. You were just a mother. Tears streamed from her eyes. Mother. The money. Forget about the money. No, Mother. I'll pay back every one. I promise. Pay back what? I stood up and walked over to her. Use that money to find my granddaughter. What? 20 million won won't get you far. Use whatever I have left too. She shook her head. I can't do that. That's your retirement fund. Retirement? How much longer do I have to live anyway? I placed my hands on her shoulders. She's my granddaughter. My own flesh and blood. She broke down crying. She held my hands and wept. My son cried too. So did I. The living room filled with the sound of our tears. For the first time in 7 years, we cried together. That night, the 3 of us sat down to dinner. Saragi guk that I had made. Rolled omelette, my son's favorite. Kokdugi, my daughter-in-law's favorite. My son picked up his spoon. Thank you for the meal. My daughter-in-law picked up her spoon too. For the first time in 3 years. The 3 of us shared dinner together, not breakfast. It's delicious, Mother. Eat plenty. It was ordinary conversation, but the air felt different. Like a taut string had finally been released. 1 week later, my daughter-in-law came to my room holding some papers. Mother, look at this. I took them. It was a detective's report. A new tip came in. From where? Gangwon Province. There's an adopted child in a mountain village. The age and description match. I read through the report. There was a photo too blurry, but it showed a girl who looked about 14. If my granddaughter were alive, she would be 14 now. Are you going to check? Yes. This week. I'm going with you. She looked at me. Mother, it's far. It'll be hard on you. So what if it's hard? I'm going to find my granddaughter. Her eyes glistened, and she nodded. Yes. Let's go together. 2 days later, we drove toward Gangwon Province. My son drove, I sat in the back. And my daughter-in-law sat in the passenger seat. We drove for 5 hours. We arrived at a small mountain village, barely 10 houses. Following the address the detective had given us. We stood before a weathered gate. My daughter-in-law's hands were shaking. I took them in mine. "It's okay." She nodded. We knocked on the gate. After a moment, it opened. An elderly woman came out. She looked even older than me. "Who are you?" We heard there's an adopted child living here." The woman's expression stiffened. "Who told you that?" "We're looking for a child. One who disappeared 7 years ago." "Wait here." She went back inside. The three of us waited at the gate, hearts pounding. We heard footsteps. The gate opened again. A girl who looked about 14 stood before us. I stopped breathing. Her eyes, her nose, her mouth. Eyes like my late husband's. A nose like my son's. A mouth like my daughter-in-law's. "Suwa?" My daughter-in-law spoke in a trembling voice. The girl tilted her head. "Do I know you?" "It's me. It's Mom." The girl's eyes grew wide. "Mom?" "Suwa. Suwa." My daughter-in-law pulled the girl into her arms. Her knees buckled, and she sank to the ground, holding her daughter and weeping. The girl looked bewildered. But slowly, ever so slowly, something seemed to be coming back to her. "Mom? Yes, it's Mom. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." My son ran to them and wrapped his arms around his daughter. The three of them clung to each other, crying. I leaned against the gate. My legs had given out. 7 years. After 7 years, we had found her. That night, we stayed at an inn near the village. My granddaughter sat beside us, awkward at first, but gradually opening up. She told us that 7 years ago, a man had taken her away. Put her in a car and driven far away. Then left her in this village. We would never know why. Perhaps we never would. But it didn't matter. My granddaughter was alive. That was enough. "Grandma," she called out to me. "Yes. I remember a little." "What do you remember?" "The soup you used to make. SeniorAudiobook. It was good." I smiled. Tears fell, but I smiled. "I'll make it for you tomorrow. Lots of it." "Okay." She smiled. Her front teeth had grown in straight in the same spot, where they'd fallen out when she was 7. 10 days later, we returned to Seoul. With my granddaughter, there were still procedures to handle. Documents, reports, verifications, complicated matters. But none of it mattered. My granddaughter had come home. To this house. I still wake up at 5 in the morning. I go to the kitchen, cook rice, make soup. The only thing that's changed is that now I prepare meals for 4. My son, my daughter-in-law, my granddaughter, and me. While setting the table, I look out the window. The sun is rising. I'm 72 years old this year. I've lived a whole lifetime. There have been joys, sorrows, and injustices. But I've learned something. You don't know how things will turn out until you've seen them through to the end. If you don't give up, a path will open. My daughter-in-law endured for 7 years. Alone. Without anyone knowing. I doubted her. I resented her. But in the end, it was because of her that we found my granddaughter. You can't know a person by their surface. You can't see what they carry in their heart. What pain they've swallowed in silence. So don't be quick to judge. Don't be quick to hate. See things through to the end. Then you'll see. You'll see what's real. This is the final lesson of an old woman who has lived 72 years. My granddaughter comes out of her room. "Good morning, Grandma." "Yes, good morning." I set the spoons on the table. Another day begins. A day just a little warmer than yesterday. If today's story brought you some comfort, we'll continue to share stories that touch your heart. Your free subscription, likes, and notifications mean so much. We sincerely wish you nothing but happiness, always.